Hi there and welcome. Today I'm going to talk about what scares me as a composer. It's worth saying I'm going to do a video, or I'm planning to do a video in a couple of weeks about what I think is amazing about being a composer. But as a bit of a reality check, it occurred to me that being a composer is in some ways quite a scary profession. Well, not compared with being a stunt driver or a test pilot or something like that. But I think there's a certain amount of fear involved. So what frightens me as a composer? Well, I write for music production libraries and short films at the moment, which will give you a little bit of context. And in my world, the number one frightening thing at the moment is artificial intelligence. And that's not a unique thing to being a composer. I'm not scared of it particularly. I'm not particularly worried that it can create music as good as I can, because I think it probably can, maybe to a certain extent. I'm concerned that I think it's a great tool. I think it will be an amazing thing, but I think money talks, and I think it will be used possibly not for the good before it is regulated fully and completely and benefits us all. So that does frighten me, not in the way that it did possibly 2 or 3 years ago when I first started really investigating things about AI. I understand a lot more about it these days, and I'm less scared of it these days. I think it's less of a threat than we initially thought possibly at the moment, but it's certainly a major, major concern. Number two, I'm really, really genuinely scared about losing what I would call my sort of inner ear or my musical instincts. I don't have an amazing inner ear. I can sort of hear what I'm writing to a certain extent, but I'm aware that I have a sort of musical sense and a musical instinct, which I think is just born of practice and years of listening to and playing music. Which means that I can sort of write music, as all composers, I think we all write music by feel to a certain extent. I know I do very, very much. I write by feel and by instinct. And I am sort of scared that that might just go at some point, because I have no control over it. I don't really understand why and how I can do that. It's just as it is. So that is a worry. If that dried up, I'd have to rely on my technique, and I really have very little technique, maybe more than I think. I mean, I understand music theory, but I don't think use it in a sort of up front, in the front of my brain way when I'm writing music. I'm scared of my royalties drying up. I have no real control over how much money I get paid for royalties, other than by just increasing my catalogue and building my catalogue and getting more tracks published. One day that could just go down. It goes up and down. I'm really lucky at the moment. My general trajectory is up, but that what could easily change. I don't have direct control of that. I am frightened of it. It's partly to do with, I think, again, not having control over it, not fully 1,000% understanding exactly how the royalty system works. I only sort of have a working knowledge of it, not interested in it in that amount of depth. But it's a scary thing. It's so unpredictable, and it feels like such a sort of unwieldy beast, I think, to rely on. I'm scared of computer failure. I mean, I write on a fairly tight schedule. As I say, I'm building my catalogue. I write 2 tracks every week without fail. I have done for the last 6 years. I've got other stuff that, with deadlines and other things like that. It's something whereby my computer stops, or there's some glitch in my music software that I can't get to the bottom of. Something like that. I am scared of that. I mean, I'm not purely because anything like that is going to cost me time. Anything like that to get sorted out, if it's really serious and I can't get to the bottom of it, it's probably going to cost me money. The bottom line being, and I actually did realise this, having changed my whole computer system over the last few months, the bottom line actually is that the computer is a tool, and I'm the thing that makes the music, not the computer. So I think that's reassuring in a way. But I do worry about stuff. It's infuriating when things go wrong and you can't get to the bottom of them. I am scared that that stability won't be there long term. Though, actually, touch wood, I've never had any major issues. He said so far. I am genuinely shit scared of losing my hearing. I am partially deaf in my left ear. I have been from birth, and I know from investigations I've done that my right ear is sort of a little below par. My mum is quite deaf. She's 85 though, 84. My dad's not, and I'm more genetically like my dad, I think. Yeah, I mean that really scares me to the extent that I'm wearing ear protectors if I go out to anywhere where there's loud music. I'm really, really scared of that. Really scared of it. I'm scared that I spend so much time writing music, so much time creating music, so much time analysing music that over a period of time, and I can feel this happening, so I am aware of it, I'm scared of becoming emotionally non-responsive to music. And that's a massive worry, because the thing that really, obviously the emotional response one's feel to listening to music and playing music is what's the great thing for us. And I do feel that when you're creating music day in, day out, and you're analysing and you're working in minute detail, that sort of emotional response is just sort of quelled a little bit. And I am worried that that affects my wider sense of my experience of music. And music is part of my absolute sensory being. It's how I understand a lot of things. So that's frightening. Frightened of burning out. Yeah, churning out 2 tracks a week as I'm doing at the moment and have been doing for the last 6 years. It's a lot. I'm frightened that one day I will just think enough's enough. I can't really do any more of this. I'm empty. The tank is empty. Being a production music library composer, the next one is I am frightened of sending the same track, say, to 2 different libraries, or reusing a track or reworking a track and sending it to another library. Now I have a rigorous ways of recording what I'm doing, and that's not happened, and it's highly unlikely. But it's always a possibility. And that would be, copyright, sending the same things to the same library, or infringing copyright. I think that would be really, really bad. Inadvertently, I don't know, writing a tune or picking up something that's in my head, because there's a lot of music in my head, and just sort of picking out something and thinking, oh, okay, well, I think that's mine, and realising actually that it's further down the line. It's not. That is frightening. Becoming obsolete, coming out of date. I do tend to write music that I think is fairly evergreen, and that it's mainly orchestral, it's mainly organic, it's mainly acoustic. But I do worry as I get older, I'm in my late 50s now, 57, I do worry that as I get older, because I'm absolutely intending doing this for the next 15, 20 years, that I will become obsolete. My musical taste, my musical feel, and everything will just be completely out of date. Linked with that, and very strongly, what is a real problem for us is that we live a very sedentary life, and I am worried as a composer for my physical well-being and my physical health. I sit for a lot of hours a day. Well, actually, I stand and sit for a lot of hours of the day, because this is an up-down desk. So actually, I stand and I sit on a stool, and I sit like this on a proper chair in various different formats throughout the day. But I exercise pretty much every day, but it's only, I walk the dog, I cycle, I'm not just literally standing here, but it's not like I have a job that I need to use my body for. And over time, my fear is, my sense is that, you know, if I'm really not careful, then my body will waste away and degenerate and seize up. Losing any, I am really scared of losing any sense of real musical identity and value, I love what I write. I have no problems writing what is essentially commercial music. I'm writing to briefs. I'm writing to a fairly strict sort of framework. A lot of production music is relatively predictable. It's, you know, there are genres and there are tropes and there are ways that you do things. I do worry that I don't really have, or I'm losing any sense of real musical individuality that I had, as I sort of feel myself becoming further and further molded into the production music pathway. I can sense from when I first started, even in my first year, so 7 years ago, that some of my music was a bit more quirky and a bit less predictable and a bit, you know, didn't quite fit into those patterns in the way that it maybe has sort of slid a little bit too far now. And the big one for me, I think, and something that I'll have to address over the next few years is, well, do I actually have anything of value to say as a musician, as a composer? I'm not belittling the work I've done so far, and it earns me a living and it keeps the roof over our heads. But have I written any music of any real value that says anything individual or says anything new or has anything of any real sort of depth? And am I capable of doing that? That is a big question. It worries me that, in a way, I don't have time to do that and to explore that because I'm too busy writing media music, which is fine and lovely. But for me as a musician and an artist, balancing that individuality and that personal voice with the sort of constraints of the media, sort of, you know, what media music has to sound like is a difficult one, I think. So, not wanting to be too depressing, but I hope that was food for thought. If you are a composer and you have any things that really scare you or your fear, then please do write in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Thanks very much then. Bye bye.